Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for September 12, 2016 at 7 p.m. at the Raleigh Town Hall. I call the meeting to order, and the first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Brent, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you. This meeting is being audio and visually recorded digitally. On our agenda tonight, and to remember those who perished on September 11th, 2001 in New York City, we'd like to have a moment of silence. Thank you very much.
On that note, Mr. Chairman, the candlelight service that was over the Congregational Church by Reverend Hagopian was quite moving. I was joined by Mary.
Very good.
And, and also the 9/11 memorial, the flowers were placed by, people go by at Pleasant and Cross, they'll see that there's flower arrangement, and it was donated by Country Gardens, and it was placed by the Rotarians.
Very good.
Okay.
We will not forget. We'll remember that tragedy for many years. It's
Just
been a
like
mark in history.
to remind people, maybe some of the newer residents of Raleigh, that are not quite familiar with what happened on that day and what happened to Raleigh on that day, where we actually lost 3 Raleigh citizens
Right,
on Flight 11,
right.
hitting the North Tower.
Yep, yep.
It was Jim and Mary Tarenti
Trentini, yes,
and Laurie Olson Neer.
yes.
And, it was, it's hard to believe, it was Flight 11, the first plane, at 8:45,
Yep.
struck the tower.
Yep.
And we lost those 3 people, and terrible moment.
There was quite a time that I had flown out the day before to go to Georgia for training.
And Jim Tarenti, if I'm correct, Bob, he put off jury duty, right? He took jury duty one day earlier, or put the flight off one day,
Well, he was supposed to leave on the flight the day that he had jury duty,
the 10th,
and he pushed it ahead a day
that day.
to the 11th, and then he and his wife were going out to California to babysit their grandchildren, as their daughter and husband were going to go on a cruise.
Wow.
And Jim was quite civic-minded. He was on the planning board here and also light board, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Jim was a good guy.
Yeah.
Okay, on our agenda for tonight, we will have citizens' query from 7:10 to 7:15. We have an appointment at 7:15 with Conservation Agent Brent Bazelak and Scout Christopher Trotter of Troop 15 to discuss an Eagle Scout project. And then we have some general business, some old business, some new business, and some minutes to go over. And we'll finish up with our usual announcements. So we will go to general business number 1. General business number 1 is to accept a letter of resignation from Administrative Assistant Catherine Pelletier. Debbie Egan, Personnel Officer, Town Hall, 139 Main Street, Raleigh, Mass. 01969. Dear Ms. Egan, please accept this letter as my formal resignation from my role as Administrative Assistant for the Town of Raleigh Water Department. My last day with the Water Department will be August 29, 2016. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for the experience. I am grateful for the professional relationships I have built. Sincerely yours, Catherine Pelletier.
Give you a motion, Mr. Chairman, to accept the letter of resignation.
I'll second that with a letter of condolences to let her know that we appreciate what she's done for us.
We have a motion and a second to accept the resignation and to send a letter of regret.
Regret.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We have general business number 2, a request from the Water Superintendent Mary Beth Weiser to lift the hiring freeze for the position of Administrative Assistant. Water Superintendent Mary Beth Weiser has requested the Board of Selectmen to lift the hiring freeze for the position of Administrative Assistant. The Board needs to vote to lift the freeze effective August 31st, 2016.
I'll give you that vote. I'll give that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to lift the hiring freeze for the position of Administrative Assistant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Under our new process, we have a review list of road opening permits for the Water Department to open the following roads. 235 Dodge Road and 20 Clay Lane. Road opening permits were signed off by the staff for the Water Department to perform emergency leak repairs to 235 Dodge Road and to replace a broken hydrant at 20 Clay Lane.
Give you the motion, Mr. Chairman.
No, we're
Oh,
just
we don't, that's right. That's
Just the
right.
information.
receiving the report on the, under our new process. Thank you. Number 4, general business number 4. We have a letter from Scott Dumas, Chief of Police, September 2nd, 2016. Dear Board of Selectmen, at my request, on May 23rd, 2016, Melissa Alaruso, a per diem dispatcher for the Raleigh Police Department, was reappointed for a 3-year term, effective July 1st, 2016. It appears as though Ms. Alaruso will not be able to remain in her capacity as a per diem dispatcher. She had recently taken a full-time position with the Environmental Police. Along with family, takes up a large portion of her time. As of this writing, Ms. Alaruso has not come to Town Hall to be sworn in. Therefore, I am respectfully requesting the Board of Selectmen rescind Ms. Alaruso's reappointment. Respectfully, Scott A. Dumas, Chief of Police.
Give you the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to rescind the Ms. Alaruso's reappointment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Citizens' query is now open.
Mr. Chairman,
Henry?
the Raleigh Board of Selectmen had been going into executive, also known as closed session, without first meeting an open session, as shown on this agenda of April 11th, 2016. In a statement issued earlier this year, Attorney General Maura Healey said this practice is one of the most frequent violations of open meeting law. That is really not a direct quote of what she said. The agenda for August 8th, 2016 shows the board convening an open session with executive session the last order of business.
Thank you. Larry?
Yes, Larry White, 108 Central Street. I was just wondering, and I don't know if you can't answer the question now, but the status of the 3 towns meeting together for the Triton school budget, that we can hopefully proactively have an input to, as you had suggested several months ago, meeting in September, and especially in light of the Pine Grove School reconstruction, the police and fire new building, or the Triton Stadium, and then a couple of other projects that are going on. I think the taxpayers can't afford another quantum leap in Triton's budget.
Thank you. Anybody else? Comment? Okay, moving on. We'll go to general business. Number 5, a letter from the Independent Living Center regarding their annual meeting on October 19th. The Independent Living Center of the North Shore in Cape Ann has sent an invitation to attend their fiscal year 17 annual meeting, which is scheduled for Wednesday, October 19th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at their office in Salem, Mass. We've had a representative from the board attend this meeting in the past. Will there be a representative attending this year? I plan on attending. They're a fun group, and they really do a lot of great work to set up housing for those special needs adults who need living quarters and need transportation and whatever, and they do a great job for them, and they're a fun group to work with. Besides that,
We need a motion to send it.
I don't think so.
I don't, yeah, because I'm not,
We don't know what Joe's gonna
Thank you.
say, so he might embarrass us.
So I shouldn't, okay,
No, I don't think we need a motion.
okay,
All kidding aside.
yeah.
okay. Number 6, review the zoning board of appeals special permit application submitted by Michael Young for replacing and enlarging an existing building at 759 Main Street. The town common and abutters, persons of interest to town common and abutters, persons of interest, and copying the Board of Health, Planning Department, Inspector of Buildings, Town Clerk, Conservation Commission, Board of Selectmen, Fire Department. From the Zoning Board of Appeals, Donald Thurston, Chairman, referring to the Zoning Board of Appeals application 17.02. A public hearing will be held at the Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street, on Thursday, September 15th, 2016, at 7:10 p.m. to act on an application received August 15th, 2016, from Michael Young. The applicant is requesting a special permit from the Board of Appeals to replace and enlarge existing building under sections 5.2.1 of the Raleigh zoning board bylaws. Property is located at 759 Main Street, Raleigh, Mass. The property is in the Coastal Conservation District and is shown on Assessor's Map number 34, block lot number 7. At the public hearing, members of the public may ask questions and present evidence that supports either the approval or denial of this petition. Donald W. Thurston, Chairman.
I looked it over, Mr. Chairman. I didn't have any issues with it.
No.
A little bit of history on that particular building. It's about 19 by 19 feet. It's been there forever. Back in the 70s, late 70s, thereabouts, there were 2 ladies that bought the property, and we're going to open an antique shop there, and just never got around to it. For some reason, it didn't get finished. So it's still there, and we've had some issues with it in the past. One particular issue was that there was a fella that evidently owned it, or got it somehow, and was doing asbestos removal. And instead of just getting rid of the asbestos as it's supposed to be getting rid of in a safe manner, he was just piling plastic bags up down there all around the property.
Wow.
So that got cleaned up, and now evidently this fellow wants to make it a little bit bigger, and hopefully it'll be another piece of property that'll pay taxes.
Thank you. So we have no comments for the Board of Appeals. Thank you very much. Moving on to general business number 7. Zone
7:15, Joe, if you want to do it.
7:15. Citizens' hearing is closed.
You get Brent.
Oh, sorry.
You get Brent sitting here patiently waiting for us with his
Thank you, Selectman Peterson, I appreciate your keeping me on time.
We're trying to keep the audience down to a minimum, so.
Okay, at 7:15, we have an appointment with Conservation Agent Brent Bazelak and Scout Christopher Trotter of Troop 15 to discuss Eagle Scout project at Dodge Reservation. September 1st, 2016, of a letter to Mr. Joseph Perry, Chairman, Board of Selectmen, 139 Main Street, Raleigh, Mass. Honorable Chairman Perry, the Conservation Department requests the opportunity to present to the Board of Selectmen at your meeting on Monday, September 12th, 2016. Scout Christopher Trotter of Troop 15 and Conservation Agent Brent Bazelak would like to request the Board of Selectmen's permission to construct and install a trail kiosk on Dodge Reservation at 390 Weathersfield Street. This service project is being planned and implemented by Scout Trotter and will provide trail information, property usage guidelines, along with health and safety information. We would like to review the possible locations for the kiosk and to relate the preference from the Conservation Commission's review. We look forward to presenting the details of this service project to the Board of Selectmen and appreciate your consideration, as this will lead to safe use of the property and respectful interactions between trail users and wildlife while protecting the natural resources of this beautiful conservation area. Regards, Brent Bazelak, Conservation Agent. Just a comment, I drive by it frequently on my way to the golf course, and I think that'd be a great idea.
Thank you very much, Chairman Terry, and members of the Board of Selectmen. If I may, we're going to use an electronic format to present to you tonight, but for the public record, I'm providing a hard copy for now. And then, if I may, I'd like to distribute to the assembled selectmen one of the particular slides that will be presented tonight, so that you can examine it a little better and closely in regards to. Give me a second just to key up the file. And in case you can't guess by the dashing uniform, this is Scout Chris Trotter.
Scout Trotter.
Welcome to the meeting.
Welcome.
Thank you.
This is an Eagle Scout project.
I don't know where the best place for me to stand would be.
Why don't you stand over here,
Yeah.
probably would be best.
Alright, so I'll be presenting the different possible locations for the Eagle Scout project, which will be on the Dawes Reservation, obviously. And as you read, my project is to make a trail kiosk. It's gonna be modeled after the Hunsley Hills Trail kiosk, so it's gonna have the exact same dimensions as the one already built. As you can see, the dimensions are it's 4 feet 7 inches wide and 9 feet and 9 inches tall. So here's a map that you've been given of the Dodge Reservation. Landmark you can see is right here is Weathersfield Street, and we've plotted out 3 locations labeled point A, B, and C. Point A is up here. This is where if you walk through from the street up here and the trail splits, this is where the steel gate is. So there's 2 possible locations up here, and then plot C is down there by the road. So that would be if you walk from the parking lot through the trail, that's where the 3rd location would be. So after surveying it, as you can see, this is plot A. Here's the metal swing gate, and then here's where the trail splits. This would be in the middle where the kiosk would be going. And then the other 2 possible locations, this is also up by the swing gate, so plot A would be right here. The other possible location would be plot B right here, it'd be off to the left. And then plot C this is if you're walking from the parking lot, the road would be over here and it would be at the end of this trail. So for plot A, we measured it out, basically making sure that for emergency vehicles, if they ever need to get up there, if there was a forest fire or anything, that they would have plenty of room. So obviously you can see they had plenty of room on each side where the trail would be, and then this is an exact measured dimension of the Hunsley Hills Trail kiosk, so there would be plenty of room on each side. And we would be able to clear these brush right here because there's only undergrowth and a small glossy buckthorn, which is an invasive species, so that could be removed.
And this is near the gate?
Yep.
Okay.
The Conservation Commission reviewed this, and just for orientation purposes, when we were originally assessing the property and trying to set up an envelope for where the camp area would be, this is not an exact restriction of the two side boundary lines, but there is a historic stone wall that comes down through here, just almost exactly where the metal swing gate is installed. And this was one of the areas where we established the edge of the boundary of the quote-unquote camp area, bordering on what we would consider the protected natural resource area or protected open space area. It also happens to be his associated scout, Flodman, who did his project, opened the adjoining or intersecting Woods Road so that we have a loop there. And so Smith Lane, which we're kind of looking at with the real bare dirt and nice straight center image there, this is where intersection of those two Woods Roads comes together, both within the open space property. So it, by geographic location, it achieves a separation and lack of confusion with being mixed in with the YMCA camp activities. This is also an area where anyone coming to access the trail system and go into the 180 some odd acres of the open space, this is kind of the choke point where they sort of have to go. So we thought that it had the advantage of that location, the fact that the spot, the geography of the spot is level terrain, and as Chris just presented, the fact that there wouldn't be any native plants disturbed by the erection and siting of this kiosk, only glossy buckthorn, which is an invasive species which we would love to eradicate to begin with from out there. And so we thought this was a very advantageous situation. The Conservation Commission also agreed and supported this as being the primary or first choice spot. We would hope you might also feel the same way.
Yeah, it looks like a very good location for the kiosk, and it would be visible and provide the necessary information for the area. Any comments?
No, I think it's a great idea. I mean, at least it gives the people somewhere to know where they're going so they don't get lost, and give them the instructions that they need to follow to make sure that they don't get lost.
Right. I think that's a great idea. Okay,
Yeah, I have no objections, that looks fine.
Bob?
No. Brent, this is sort of what you've been thinking about anyways, right? Had in the back of your
Well,
head.
yeah, kind of. There's,
Yeah.
and again, with a willing scout who,
Yes.
feels that this type of project would help fulfill their requirements and also be a benefit of the community, so, yeah.
What's your time frame on?
I have until I'm 18, which is April 5th.
It's a good project for you.
You have a motion?
I'll give you a motion.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the Eagle project by Scout Chris Trotter to put a kiosk at 390 Weathersfield. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chris, thanks for your idea. Excellent.
Thank you, Brent.
Thank you very much. As always, we appreciate your support and your input on this project.
Hope to see you back when you get your eagle.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Take care now, thank you.
thank you again.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Hey, you, Brent.
Thank you for
Thanks,
your
Bob.
time.
Thank you very much.
Looking good out there, the signs look good. I think that's gonna be a very active, probably one of our most active areas in terms of public use.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was part of my concern personally, that I'd like to know, where I'm going.
Yeah, no, definitely, it's,
And so having that information at the kiosk will help on that. It's very good.
Well, so forewarned is forearmed, because this means at some point in time I'm going to be coming and talking to you, hopefully about the support for having a trail map.
Yes.
Which hopefully I'll probably need Merrimack Valley Planning Commission's expertise in developing it. But again, thank you so much for the board's time this evening.
Thank you.
thank you for coming.
well, let me know when you need an LTA. Okay.
Okay. Going back to our agenda, general business number 7. From the Zoning Board of Appeals dated August 24th, 2016, the town common and abutters, persons of interest. Copies to the Board of Health, Planning Department, Inspector of Buildings, Town Clerk, Conservation Commission, Board of Selectmen, Fire Department. From the Zoning Board of Appeals, Donald W. Thurston, Chairman. Referring to Zoning Board of Appeals, application 17.03. Case 17.03, a public hearing will be held at Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street, on Thursday, September 15th, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. to act on an application received August 17th, 2016, from Vincent D'Amato Jr. Applicant is requesting an appeal from the Board of Appeals to review a decision made by the Inspector of Buildings. Property is located at 52 Christopher Road, Raleigh, Mass. The property is in the outlying district and is shown on Assessor's Map 8, Block number 19, Lot number 4. At the public hearing, members of the public may ask questions and present evidence that supports either the approval or denial of this petition. Donald W. Thurston, Chairman.
Yeah, I looked at it, Mr. Chairman, I didn't have any issues with it.
Nothing.
Nothing? Any comments, Mr. Murray?
No, not at this point.
Okay, so he is asking for a hearing to appeal the decision made by the Inspector of Buildings. We have no comment to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Thank you. General business number 8. We have a request from the Gene Geiger Crisis Center, Inc., to hang a banner on the town common backstop promoting the October 2nd annual Walk Against Domestic Violence. The Geiger Crisis Center has requested permission from the Board of Selectmen to hang a banner on the town common backstop promoting their annual Walk Against Domestic Violence. They have provided the name and cell phone number of someone from the Geiger Center who will be responsible for the banner.
Thank you for the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded to allow the Geiger Crisis Center to hang the banner on the town common backstop promoting their annual Walk Against Domestic Violence. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
Thank you. And general business number 9, we have a request from the YMCA to hold the annual Raleigh Poker Road Race. The YMCA has requested to hold their annual Raleigh Poker Run on Saturday, October 1st, 2016, at 9 a.m. The race course will be from Camp Cedar to Weathersfield, left on Weathersfield to Hillside, right on Hillside to Weldon Pond Road, turn on Weldon Pond Road at 1.5 miles, and reverse course back to Camp Cedar Mill. Finish at the top of the hill before Whispering Pines Cabin. A police detail will be hired, and there will be volunteers along the course. Water, bagels, and fruit will be served after the race, and the use of the town common is not required. The highway surveyor and health agent have no comments or concerns about this event. Chief Dumas met with the race organizer, Gary Beauchamp, and said, "We discussed some options, all of which I am comfortable with. I believe we will be able to safely handle the event with one detail officer, a duty officer, and volunteers." Gary Beauchamp confirmed that there will be an EMT on the course in response to the question raised by Fire Captain Mark Emery. We have a motion
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve of to allow the YMCA to hold their annual Raleigh Poker Road Race on October 1st, 2016 at 9 a.m. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that finishes general business. Old business. We have an update on Kids Kingdom Playground Project and volunteers. Amy spoke with Tim Southall this morning regarding the timeline for the playground installation. Tim said the old playground structure was taken down this past weekend and the area is secured with caution tape. The highway department is being reached out to for help in disposing of the old equipment. On Thursday, Tim will meet with Dibble and Sons and the Raleigh Light Department to have the holes drilled for the new equipment. The new playground equipment will be delivered as scheduled on Friday. The community build is scheduled for this Saturday, September 17th, beginning at 8 a.m. We are seeking volunteers aged 16 and older to assist with the playground installation and to bring a shovel, rake, and wheelbarrow if possible. Please contact the Selectmen's office for more information. And they are looking for volunteers for Saturday's installation. That's Saturday, September 17th at 8 a.m. at Eris Park. So this is an update on the installation. Okay, old business number 2. Discuss the status of the drought and watering the playing fields. The status of the drought has not changed. I'm happy to say that it did not get any worse. We did get some recent rainfall and cooler temperatures. The town playing field irrigation wells were shut off on August 31st and will remain off. It seems that while we didn't get an awful lot of water, we did get enough so that we can continue to not to use the irrigation wells at Eris Park. And so they will remain off. Hopefully we'll get some more rain in the near future and help the situation out. But at least we have not progressed to the next level of going from further restrictions on water usage. So that's a positive, I think.
It is.
Okay, old business number 3. This is an update on Apex Entertainment request to film a scene of the movie Chappaquiddick at Town Hall. The filming scheduled has been reduced. Jimmy Luck of Apex Entertainment met with the town clerk, treasurer collector, principal assessor, and Debbie and Amy last week to go over the revised plan. No one had any objections to the trimmed-down schedule. The new schedule is Thursday, October 6th, dressing of the set. The building can be open for business as usual. This set preparation should take a few hours. Friday, October 7th, filming. The building will need to be closed. The town hall offices, town clerk, treasurer, and assessors will work out of the annex for their normal Friday hours. There will be no parking issues because the library is closed on Fridays. Jimmy has discussed this with Library Director Pam Jacobson. Monday, October 10th, which is Columbus Day, the movie crew will decommission the set. The town hall will be closed for the holiday. So we're kind of a little disappointed that we've been trimmed down to one filming day from 3, but we're happy to see that they're still going to use the town hall. And we'll be anxious to see the movie. Okay. Old business number 4, an update on the annex parking lot project. Last week, Cassidy Corporation did the excavation, grading, and placing the hard packed gravel at the site. Debbie is working with Cassidy to schedule the paving. This project will provide additional parking for employees and visitors to the annex and senior center. Attached is a picture of the work completed last week, and I was there Friday morning for my Friday morning cribbage session, and they're doing quite a bit of work in the parking lot. They have it really laid out flat, and it looks like it's ready to be paved, and they've done a really good job.
Excellent.
So I think things are moving along. It'll provide additional spaces, which we know it's nice to see that the Council on Aging is getting additional usage. We've had as many as 16, 4 tables of 4 at the cribbage on Friday mornings. So,
Really?
So we have a good time with it. So we need the additional space. Larry?
Yes, just a question on the annex elevator and how the location of that, would that impact the parking lot?
The elevator, as I understand, will
Joe.
be inside the building.
Joe, excuse me, we had a meeting this morning with the 2 out of the 3 architects. We're meeting with the other one tomorrow. So there's been no determination as to where the elevator is gonna go. And once we hire the architect, then they'll go through and give us the options, and the board will decide where exactly the elevator will go. So I don't anticipate that it's gonna affect the parking, because even if it goes in the backside, which it probably won't, it's not gonna impinge on the road going out to that parking lot. And if it's on the side of the building, it will still be a minimal effect. So, but at this point, there's been nothing determined, and
Sorry.
until we have an
Thank you
architect
for
come
the
in
update.
and give us an array of choices as to how we want to do it and where we want to put it.
Right, I
We
just
can't
didn't want
determine
the
that.
parking lot to go in and then the elevator put on the side of the building that might have to rip up part of the parking lot.
No, this is, the parking lot's far enough away that
Okay.
it won't be affected at all. If anything, if any part of the parking is affected, it would be on the other side of the building, on the Board of Health side,
Right.
where, where it gets narrower there, but that
Yeah.
will be determined, and that'll be taken care of as part of the project.
There's a kind of a roadway exit from on the side of the, where the Council on Aging is.
Right.
And the parking where they're paving is on the other side of that, so it's not
Okay.
near the building.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update.
Yep.
Dave, appreciate it.
Like I said, we're meeting tomorrow with the 3rd architect, and then we'll have something for the board after that.
Okay, new business number 1. Discuss the letter from Henry Rolfe regarding the open meeting law violation and response. During the August 22nd citizens query portion of our meeting, Mr. Henry Rolfe presented the board with a letter on an open meeting law violation. The board needs to vote on the attached response and authorize Chairman Perry to sign it. Citizens Query, Honorable Board of Selectmen, Town Administrator. Topic, open meeting law. Can anyone, any member of the public attend any meeting of any public body in Massachusetts? Yes. Can any person file an open meeting law complaint? Yes. If I do file an open meeting law complaint, I may point out that the Board of Selectmen meeting agenda of August 8th, 2016 lists no adjournment. Henry F. Rolfe. September 12th, 2016, Mr. Henry Rolfe, 13 Plantation Drive, Raleigh, Mass. 01969, regarding the open meeting law complaint, August 8th, 2016. Dear Mr. Rolfe, thank you for sending the Board of Selectmen your concerns on the open meeting law in the Board of Selectmen's adjournment of the August 8th, 2016 meeting. You point out in your August 22nd, 2016 letter, which you presented during Citizens Query, that the August 8th, 2016 meeting agenda did not list adjournment. The word adjournment was not on the agenda because when I, as chairman of the Board of Selectmen, prepared the August 8th, 2016, I planned to have an executive session at the end of the open session portion of the meeting. The last item on the agenda was executive session. The Board of Selectmen did not vote to adjourn from the open session portion of the meeting during the open session. At the end of the open session portion of the meeting, the board voted as follows. Chairman Perry called for a motion to go into executive session for the following purpose: to discuss collective bargaining strategy, AFSCME Local 2905 and the Massachusetts Coalition of Police, MCOP, Local 360, because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the town, and to not return to open session. Dave Peterson so moved. Cliff Pierce second. All in favor, roll call vote. Robert Mary, aye. Joseph Perry, aye. David Peterson, aye. Cliff Pierce, aye. Robert Snow, aye. I clearly said, after stating the purpose of the executive session, that the board would not be returning to open session. If the executive session was scheduled earlier on the meeting agenda and the Board of Selectmen had other business in open session after the executive session and voted to return to open session, then the word adjournment would be on the agenda. The board did not vote to adjourn while in open session. Please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. Sincerely, Joseph Perry, Chairman. Enclosures, Board of Selectmen, August 8th, 2016 meeting agenda. Board of Selectmen minutes, August 22nd, 2016, pages 7 and 8. Henry Rolfe, open meeting law letter dated August 22nd, 2016. I need a motion to sign the letter.
Give me that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to allow me to sign the letter to Mr. Henry Rolfe, 13 Plantation Drive, regarding the open meeting law complaint of August 8th, 2016. All those in favor say aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, I'll print out the final version, and that's just a draft. So I'll print out a new version and
Okay.
have you sign it later,
Very good.
as long as there were no changes.
Thank you. Okay. New business. Number 2, open the warrant for the fall special town meeting. The board needs to vote to open the November 14th, 2016 fall special town meeting warrant and to close it on Monday, October 3rd, 2016 at 4 p.m.
Give me that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to open the warrant for the fall special town meeting to be held November 14th, 2016. All those in favor say aye.
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 Sorry, can you repeat the date for closing?
October 3rd.
The closing will be October 3rd at 4 p.m. New business number 3. Review and discuss earth removal permit application filed by Gateway 2 Trust of 1997. Gateway 2 Trust of 1997 has submitted an earth removal application to remove approximately 2,000 cubic yards of soil from 414 Haverhill Street as part of their project to build a healthcare facility and daycare center. Several town boards have already reviewed this project and given the requisite permits. Joe Coughlin, the representative of Gateway 2 Trust, will be sending us the certified abutters list and a plan showing the topography of the area and where the soil will be removed. We will also ask him for a reuse plan for the soil. The board needs to review the permit application tonight. The permitting process requires a public hearing in which a notice must be published in the Daily News once in each consecutive weeks of the hearing date, with the first public notice to be not less than 14 days before the day of the hearing. The Board of Selectmen's regulations call for a $200 application fee. Debbie recommends that the board waive the fee in lieu of the requiring the applicant to cover the costs to place the 2 legal notices in the Daily News, since the cost for advertising the hearing will be substantially higher than the $200 fee. The abutters must also receive the notice. We will request that the application be reviewed by other town departments and boards, including the Building Inspector, Conservation Commission, Board of Health, Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, Highway Surveyor, Police Department, and Water Department. Possible public hearing dates are October 3rd and October 17th. In addition to the application, the earth removal bylaw and the Board of Selectmen special permit rules and regulations are attached. If you've driven by, you've seen that they're removing a
Mr. Chairman, I
lot.
would just ask the question, would it be, because the fire department isn't mentioned here, would we want to make sure that they get notified also, or it doesn't matter?
We could add
Yes,
them to
Mr.
the
Chairman,
list.
certainly, it was just a sampling we put together. It
Yep.
is sent out, that was some of the departments that we were speaking, and we certainly send that to the fire department as well.
Just so they were aware that
Of
something's going to
course,
happen.
no, we would be doing that.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, we did, in reviewing the application, did notice that the certified abutters list was not included. We spoke to Mr. Coughlin, that's forthcoming. We've also asked for a plan showing the topography of the area. We're highlighting the section where the excavation is taking place of the soil. The $200 filing fee was not included with this. And in accordance with the Board of Selectmen's regulations, there is a $200 filing fee. And the board, we don't often have a lot of earth removal permits, but when we do, the Selectmen's expense budget usually has to cover the cost of that, since we don't have a revolving fund, unlike some of the other technical boards that have revolving funds. So that's why I made a recommendation that the applicant, we do these with liquor licenses, the applicant pay for the cost of the hearing notice, which we would draft in accordance with the requirements outlined in the bylaw and in the regulations. And they pay for that to be run in the Daily News for those 2 consecutive weeks, which can be expensive. And I would estimate could be double, it could be $400. If that would be something the board would like to consider tonight, then we can proceed in letting the applicant know that. Otherwise, if you need time to mull it over, we can reconvene this discussion next week.
I'd say, Mr. Chairman, number one is if it's possible, they're really moving out there on a daily basis. If we could schedule a hearing on October 3rd, if that gives the office enough time to do what it needs to do, I would recommend we have it on October 3rd. And I would also, I'll make a motion, if that's acceptable at this point, to waive the $200 fee in lieu of the applicant covering the cost of the legal notices
I'll second
as
that.
required.
Any comment?
No, I think that's what we
Does
should
that
do.
cover what you need, Debbie, for?
Yes, if the board is ready to take action on that tonight, the applicant is available on October 3rd. Right now, we don't have anything scheduled that evening. So that would give us enough time to get that notice in the newspaper before September 19th, which would be the 14-day window in accordance with the requirements.
Okay.
No, I think that, like I say, I make the motion, and I think it's good that they're really moving out there, and
Yes, they are.
it seemed to be, doing a good job. I go by there 2 or 3 times a day, so it's going well.
The motion has been made to, and seconded to review the permit application and to waive the $200 fee in lieu of having the applicant pay for the legal notices for the Daily News for the 2 weeks.
Set the date
And to
for
hold the
October.
hearing on October 3rd. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, new business number 4. To the Board of Selectmen from the Board of Water Commissioners regarding the special town meeting warrant. The Board of Water Commissioners is in receipt of the legal opinion from Judy Pickett dated August 22nd, 2016, regarding private well regulations. We would like to amend our current bylaw to include water conservation measures for private well owners. All private wells, residential, commercial, irrigation, and primary drinking water wells shall be subject to the same water use restrictions as the Raleigh Water Department water customers. Conservation measures from private well owners will assist us further in times of a drought to have water available for town-wide fire protection. As we are all taking water from the same aquifer that the public water supply draws from. We would like to respectfully request the Board of Selectmen grant permission to have Town Council amend the water use restriction bylaw to include all private well owners noted above. We would also like to request, if in agreement, that this amendment be included in the November 14th, 2016 Fall Special Town Meeting. We ask for this amendment so that we may better serve the community. Thank you for your consideration and assistance. Copy to Debbie Egan, Town Administrator, Mary Beth Weiser, Water Superintendent. Do you have any comment, Vern?
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry.
Under the first paragraph, third sentence, it has water conservation measures for, and then it looks like they added or took something out of there. All private, they took the other all out?
Yeah, I think it's a typo.
Okay, we go down to paragraph 3, and the second, and it has this, almost the same wording, including all private well owners. And they took all well owners out of it the first time. They took the all out of the well owners the first time, and it's still there in the third paragraph. It's all private well owners. So I don't know if that's another typo.
Well,
I think in the first paragraph that I may have misread it, but between the for and the private, it's penciled in that all, and then they scratched it out after private
Okay.
because it was just mistyped. I'm
Okay.
assuming
No, as long as that's not an issue, that's fine.
and I believe that would be,
plus Judy will be reviewing the wording once we get the actual bylaw anyway, right?
yeah, before we get it
The actual
to
wording
have
of
it
the bylaw will be reviewed by
worded
town
to
council.
be legal to go on to the November 14th.
The
Vernon?
board reviewed the communications and there was a motion made and that's why you have the letter.
Okay.
But we need an actual drafting, who would be drafting the actual article itself? In other words, just tell us what you want to do. We need an actual wording of we will need an actual wording of the article, which would then be reviewed by normally town council then reviews it, so I'm not sure who.
Mr. Chairman, yes, so what we would normally ask is just where the water board would like to insert these sections. I mean, I can look through easily and probably figure that out with the town council, where the language would be to meet the intent of this request. So I could either get a draft warrant article, or I can just have Judy write a bylaw amendment based on this language and
Yeah, we'd have to
inserting
know which bylaw we're amending and,
the water use restriction bylaw, in which section of that bylaw I believe that we would be inserting these words, all private well owners. So I might be able to take this memo and have her start working on it.
Yeah, I would recommend probably just let Judy
At
draft
this
it.
point,
so that
I'll have her
they
draft the warrant
Right.
article.
create the
It's
least
a
number of
fair-
problems.
well, my recollection is it's a fairly extensive
It is.
Right.
section. And I'm for making things shorter rather than longer, but I guess we have to.
My
do
other
whatever
question
we
in
need.
regards to this, is there a fine involved, or is there going to be a fine if you violate the, and I have no idea what the current issue is, but do we need to look at the,
My recollection is that the fine, whatever the fines are for, should we say, non-authorized use of public water would apply to the private well use as well.
And who
There is a-
enforces it?
There is a set of fines for, I think it's 50 for the
$50 for the
first, 50 for the
first.
second, and then I
The
think
water
that-
gets turned off after the third offense, for the third offense.
Well, I think there's a higher fine, but
Right.
we can't turn off the well board. I don't know that we would have a legal right to turn off the well water.
Right, that's
So I
one
think-
of the problems.
Right. I mean, I think this is more a way of communicating intent and concern, both for the preservation of the resource as well as the basic notion of equity across the town. So, but I think Larry's got a good point I hadn't even thought about.
who assesses the fine and who actually enforces the fine? I mean, I don't know, I'm not asking you a question, I have no idea the answer. So it's something that we need to look at when
It
we,
is in the bylaw.
is it in the bylaw?
I believe the police have that capability.
We should review that just to make sure that it's in proper form and.
And the question that just came up, Mr. Chairman, that certainly will be reviewed by town council, the ability to apply the same enforcement action on a town water customer versus a private well owner. I'm not sure to the extent that how that can be enforced on a private well, but that would be something the town council
we'd have to go to town council for a review
would
of that.
be probably bringing up that question and asking what would be the intent of the water board and something like that.
Yeah, without speaking out of turn, I had concerns about the kind of this mingling of the private and the public for some of those reasons, but really gonna leave it to the lawyers to figure out what is kosher and what is.
Well, the issue becomes difficult too, because you can see how a number of people put signs of well water.
Yes,
Well, we don't know if they got well water or not.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? The whole enforcement mechanism can be extremely difficult, and, but
There is
it's,
now, I believe, because we were doing the cross-connection survey, there now is a listing of everybody who's got
Right.
wells. So there is a way
Okay.
of monitoring whether
Mhm.
they have them or they don't have
Right.
them, but they've got a sign.
okay.
I mean, I think and I just asked a question about the all, excuse me, all well owners, and it's saying that in this, if that winds up in the bylaw itself, what's gonna happen to the farmers that are watering their cows and animals and things like that from their well? What happens to the commercial growers, commercial farmers that are growing vegetables and things like that? We're telling them that they can't water their income? I mean, I think that's something we
They're
need to-
already protected under the existing state regulations, so I'm assuming that we can't run directly counter to the state regulation, which allows farmers and
Agricultural to do that.
commercial. And, you know, if you've got
But
a,
I think we need to make sure that that's addressed in the well part of this
Right.
bylaw.
Well, Bob, I think one of the issues too is we had Libby Tucker come in asking, and I know there's a woman near me, I think she's got her own well, but she has a sizable vegetable garden. And, when there's water being on, are people allowed to water their vegetable gardens?
Well, that's the
That's a
issue.
source of food
And
for individual families that,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
so I think that needs to be at least
It
looked
needs
at.
to be addressed in the actual
It has
bylaw
to.
itself.
It should be
Because
addressed.
we have already seen what happened when we tried to water the playground.
Right.
We had people complaining and so forth and so on. So somebody's gonna challenge this bylaw and probably get it thrown out if we don't address it when we write it the first time.
I imagine this will help to get attendance at town meeting.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I know the water use restriction bylaw has language in there that's tied to the state emergency drought situation. As you recall, the town council did review for the Board of Health, for the health agent, a question regarding private wells. And recently, in that opinion, she did review that water use restriction bylaw, and it did not apply to private wells. And if it were to, she told me, it would have to be issued, it would be tied to a trigger by the state Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs and their drought emergency mandate. So that would be the triggering point, as I understood, if there was to be any application of enforcement on private wells, if the town so thought to amend the bylaw to that effect. So it would be the state that would trigger that, not the town.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, we're
And
gonna
this
make sure
is-
that's clear.
And the
We
state-
have some concerns. We
The
definitely
state mandate
have some
has the
concerns,
exemptions,
yeah.
as Mr. Collins just
Yep.
pointed out, for commercial farming, I believe it was, food production.
Yes, I
You
remember.
know, there
seeing
may
that.
be some disagreement on the
I remember
interpretation of
seeing
that.
that memo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is the big disagreement, because food production is food production, and whether it's commercial or not is not clear
Yes,
in
that's
the
right.
bylaw. So, because we had some serious gardeners come to the water board, and again, the kind of the notion is uniformity. The problem is there's ambiguity in what we're trying to be uniform about, which is the state bylaw. If you're growing food for your own consumption, then, again, there's a difference of view on the board, so I don't want to speak for the board.
Right.
My
I
own
mean,
view
to
is
me,
that.
the biggest concern would be the livestock.
Right.
Because those people can get in some really hot water, pardon the water pun, if something happens to their animals and the MSPCA comes along and says, hey, you're not watering, you're not giving your animals enough water here, we gotta take them away from them.
Right.
That is unambiguous in the state law. So, and all livestock, whether it's for commercial reasons or you've just got your own horse or your own cow or whatever, you can protect, you can use water for that. I think part of the bind is what you do around enforcement. And if you're out there with a hose, you've got a problem, unless you fit into one of these categories. You can use grey water regardless, and
Use what?
grey water. We're collecting all the grey water, all
Okay.
the shower
Yeah,
water, all
gotcha.
the dishwater to use on the damn flowers, frankly. But anyway.
I'm seeing a lot of barrels being put in under the drain pipes around town.
Yes, yes. Okay. Anybody else on the board for a comment? Okay, moving on. So we do have some concerns about amending our bylaws. New business number 5. The Board of Water Commissioners voted on September 6, 2016 at the Water Board meeting the following. Respectfully request the following be placed on the warrant at the November 14, 2016 special town meeting. 1. Add to Article 10 voted at spring 2016 town meeting for paving of the parking lot at 401 Central Street, the sum of $27,000 to cover the costs associated with complying with stormwater BMPs. Transfer from stabilization to Article 10. 2. Transfer from stabilization the sum of $225,000 for the purpose of complying with the deficiencies noted in the 2016 Mass DEP sanitary survey. There is $673,000 as of July 1st, 2016 in the Water Department Enterprise Stabilization Fund. This transfer will not raise the rates. Copies to Debbie Egan, Town Administrator, and Board of Water Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question. Recently, there was a legal ad in the, I believe it was the weekly paper, for the paving at Central Street. At the end of the ad, it says that they're looking for bids now, but it said that the bids can't be awarded until the special town meeting of August 14th. And I'm just wondering, how do you bid out a project now that may not be done, or at least isn't gonna be, I mean, normally you bid out a project when you award the bid. You're required to complete the project, start the project within 30 days. I didn't quite understand the purpose of advertising that. If the project was still waiting to be properly funded. So it didn't really make any sense. And I don't expect you to have an answer, Larry, or Bernie.
Right.
But it struck me as being rather odd.
I think that's a procurement question. I'm really not sure of I don't know whether it was an RFP or an RFI or what.
Yeah, I'm not looking for an answer. It's just something if you could have the superintendent give us some kind of, and the second one was we need a breakdown of cost for number 2. I mean, there's nothing there indicating, all of a sudden we need $225,000 for
Yeah, there should have been an attachment
for the DEP, and is this something that's an emergency now, or is this something that is gonna be done over the next 2 or 3 years, or, you know what I mean?
My understanding is that the way the sanitary survey, the feedback we get from the state around the sanitary survey, it puts very specific timelines on the completion of these components. The biggest one was the reconditioning of well number 2. But everything is kind of driven by the specifics in that formal report from the DEP, basically saying, you guys, these are deficiencies.
Because I'm just not sure that these are things, particularly that amount of money would be appropriate for this, but unless it's an absolute emergency. I would think that the DEP is gonna give us, they can't expect it to be done yesterday. And if we don't have the money, they have to wait, the annual, as part of your budget or our budget, town's budget process, we would be looking at
I don't want to
at
spoil
that amount of money as part of the budget, rather than coming up with, because that's gonna strip your whole, between these 2 projects, you're gonna strip a good amount of money out of your.
My concern as well, I think the dilemma I have is the interpretation of the DEP requirements sounds as though we have no choice. Logically and practically and pragmatically, I would say we've got to have a choice, because if this motion doesn't get passed, that's one obvious reason we're not authorized to use those funds. So I think Chairman Manning is kind of trying to push back a little with the DEP to kind of get clarity as to whether they want a plan to spend or they want us to execute. And I think the way the report is worded, and I don't know if you were at that meeting.
No, but I watched it on the replay.
So there was there was some discussion as to what does the report really absolutely require us to do, and it's ambiguous. So there is a request to kind of push back. We can only do what's practical. The chairman is certainly in favour of doing only what's practical, not what. It's not an issue of if they say jump, we say how high. They're basically saying jump, and we're basically saying hold on a second. So we have to give them a plan that lays these things out in any event, as far, that's my reading of the requirement of the report. Whether we actually spend the money or not is
One of the issues we discussed, we met with Mary Beth and Tim Southall from the Recreation Committee, is the Little League field and the well field have coexisted out there for, well, I've probably got a better idea than that. All I can say is 50-plus years. I'm sure it's about a lot longer than that. Now, all of a sudden, they want that ball field gone. Well, part of what we recommended, or what I recommended, and Tim and I recommended to Mary Beth, was see if we get at least a two-year time frame to move the field. I mean, it's another one of those things we could put we got to make another field, and it's coexisted for all these years. It's. I mean, I understand they're coming up with new rules and tightening up on regulations, and the ball field definitely is in the wrong spot. But on the other hand, we need time to do this stuff, and I would think that, the same thing with most of this stuff. There might be one or two things on there and that $225,000 that are a real emergency, but the rest of them, I would think, could be put into a timeline for the next year or 2 years to be done. I don't know. I have no idea what the
I
report
would
even
assume,
says.
I don't know how the state reacts to these.
Right.
What I understand happens is that if we don't do it, then we get we get our hands slapped, and we go into a kind of a.
Right. Well, they can fine us. They can actually fine us.
Well,
if they're-
that's the issue.
Ultimately.
If we say no, or essentially no, then they come back and they're more punitive in their response.
Right.
But I don't know, at what point if it's not an emergency, if there's not a real health issue, how much.
Well, maybe before the closing of the warrant for October 3rd, was it, we said?
October 3rd.
Mary Beth or the board could forward us a timeline, a breakdown of the cost, number one, but a timeline of, of our feeling of how the state is reacting. It just seems funny that we've gone all these years. I mean, nothing's changed in the water department in terms of facilities for a long, long time, and all of a sudden, we've got $225,000 worth of work that has to be done yesterday.
Right.
It just seems like there's something that isn't right here.
You're as puzzled as, sorry.
Oh, no, Mr. Chairman, I was just gonna say, I think the key is the response, that it's not a no on any of these. I think, as Mr.
Right.
Peterson is saying, the response to the DEP with the priority, knowing that we're in the middle of a fiscal year right now. The annual budget was set in May of this fiscal year. And I think the DEP is aware that in a town, we operate on a town meeting based in the spring. And while we do have the opportunity to have a fall town meeting this year, which is not every year, there may be some things that can be accommodated on the schedule, but if there's a response with the timeline and the plan, so that there's an expectation that the town agrees to everything, and here's the plan, so it's phased in, and that you're not taking a significant portion of 1/3 of your stabilization fund out and using it and setting it aside for things that, a lot of this is bidding work and costs go up, prevailing wages increase, and all of these other things. These numbers even may be adjusted next spring, based on what current market conditions will be.
I think it's this September 15th is when the water department had to respond to the DEP. So we were on a short fuse, and I think the one thing that will get you into trouble if you don't respond
Oh, yeah, no, we want to
constructively with the intent, with a plan of moving forward, if in fact the suggested steps get rejected, then at least we haven't fallen at the first hurdle. And it basically forces, and I think this is what I said at the last meeting, it forces the state to come back and say what a realistic time frame is like.
Well, even if we get an extension on the, respond to them by the date with a request that we extend it for 30 days or something to properly research and so on. I mean, that's up to the water department, but just
Tried, but-
If I can just make some comments, reading through on here, it looks like that Tatter and Howard has prepared the following cost estimates based on a report from the Mass DEP, Compliance Plan, Section B and Section C of the Sanitary Survey Report. And they've broken down each part and the cost for each section, okay? But there is no timeline. That's what our one of
We
our
haven't got- they haven't even
major
given us a final
concerns
report
is.
yet, right?
Right. So we do have a concern about the timeline, but it is, the whole 225,000 is broken out, and what the cost for each part is: the Prospect Hill water storage tank sample tap, the capacity evaluation, and all of that is all detailed in here for the $225,000.
Mr. Peterson, what report?
Data and
Fine.
Howard.
Which report are you,
The letter.
report to the
This
water
is,
department.
this is prepared by Tatter and Howard, and it was sent to Mary Beth.
I
They
understand.
provide
Well, apparently,
budgetary estimates, sanitary survey compliance projects.
I guess my question, Joe, is Tater and Howard, before we get a report from the DEP saying what,
we have that report. This is a response to that report, if I understand your
Right.
question correctly.
all right, so
It's all laid out. I
so,
mean,
but if
these are
we're
all the-
requesting, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, Tater and Howard on that last page, their summary paragraph in the letter to Superintendent Weiser says, please note the projects presented herein are not included in the current operating budget or capital plan. We recommend the town include funding articles in the FY18 annual town meeting warrant for
Right.
these projects.
That's my point, is
Assuming the projects are funded in the spring 2017, parentheses FY18 annual town meeting, anticipated completion date for the projects is December 2017. So actually, Tater and Howard, in that,
Are making the recommendations. We don't
For
know
the
whether
budget,
the state
for
is agreeing to that.
they're not saying the fall town meeting,
no, they're saying
No.
FY18.
so I don't know what the, when the water board looked at this, if they were thinking to expedite it.
Well, I know I was reacting or responding to the DEP report, which basically had a layout of saying, one literal interpretation was you've got to get these things done by then, because there was no other language. A more reasonable interpretation is that you have to have a plan in place by then, and that plan may be fiscal year 17 or 18 or 19, depending upon what the nature of the issue is. So, but this is the first time, my first time through responding to state demands, so I'm kind of pleading my novice status again.
If they
I think
think you're
they're-
not doing it fast enough, you will hear about it.
Yeah.
And you will be forced into
Well,
a
I
consent
think
order.
that's what we're really trying to do, is let the town know that this is there, that if they are insistent, then we're gonna have to respond. I think, so in a certain sense, this is almost a precautionary step. But I would point out that one of the big elements is the reconditioning of well number 2, and they've actually questioned us because the production of the well is 5% below what its maximum capacity is, which beats the hell out of me why they are pushing that, but that's what they're saying, so.
Well, I think that there's no doubt that water is gonna be the issue of the next few years in every community, not just Rowley. And, with what appears to be weather changes, et cetera. So, I think I think the town is more than willing to, or we as a town officials are more than willing to put this, but I just wanted to recommend that we take a step back. And if Tater and Howard says that next year's budget, I think that gives us time to look at these things and assess what's going on, get a timetable that the state will agree upon, so that in an orderly manner we can conduct these things, because there's going to be other issues, I'm sure, that come up at the same time. I mean, it's like this parking lot issue up there. We've been going around and around this for about 3 years now, and now all of a sudden it's $27,000 more dollars. We were under the impression when we appropriated the 60 that was going
The
to.
stormwater
That was
management.
But that was part of the original 60,000 was that was gonna cover stormwater management, so I mean, I'm just wanna make sure that, because when we keep going back for more, when we don't appropriate enough money and go back for more, the townspeople are looking at us saying, well, what are you people doing there?
I would recommend that we, as a board, ask the water commissioners, find out about the timeline from the estate and find out what the compliance request is all about and give us some more information. Is that what you need?
Well, I think in other words, time is getting, quickly coming to a head here because of the time frames. I mean, if we know there's gonna be articles on the water, we can placehold beyond October 3rd, right?
Right.
I mean, we've done that. It's just a matter of, what I don't wanna do is, personally, what I don't wanna do is go rushing in and then discovering that, wait a minute, we can actually do these in next year's budget, rather than trying to rush around now, and not do them right, or not, because the engineer, a lot of these things, I have no, I admit I didn't read all that letter, but I mean, some of these things gotta be engineered, and, bids and all, there's all kinds of issues here, I'm sure, so that,
Larry?
Yes, just for your information, Mary Beth is meeting with the Finance Committee tomorrow, scheduled around 8 o'clock, to discuss the fiscal 17 budget, and in particular some of these items that she's sent me copies of, so that we can be aware of it and start our discussions on it. So I'm selling tickets to the meeting tomorrow night.
You're looking for an
Discount.
audience.
So is that for fiscal year 18 budget, or for
No.
amendments or changes to
Well,
the
right
fiscal
now it's
17?
16 and 17, but depending upon when this has to be done, we can at least be aware of the timetable for it. Some of the things might be able to be done earlier, have to be done earlier. Some of them can be done later, but that's something that Mary Beth will address hopefully tomorrow, so.
Yeah, we have to know a time frame. We have to know whether we're doing these warrant articles for the fall special town meeting, or we're going to be able to put them off until the spring fiscal 18 town meeting.
So I'm assuming then that Mary Beth will have had some discussions with the state in terms of what their interpretation, how they want us to proceed.
Right.
Because they've got.
I would imagine that between the September 6th meeting, when she kind of addressed this, and we'll say tomorrow evening, that she will have had discussions with the state on what is required and what a time frame is.
Well, that's what we had, I mean, the tone of the discussion that we just had now is exactly the tone that was at the water board, in terms of asking the kind of Mary Beth to push back and get clarity
Right.
and realism about these dates, because they appear to just be, we're sending you the report in August 15th, and we want the things committed to by September 15th. So it wasn't as though there was any kind of thinking going on. It was just like 30 days, we want an answer. So I don't know. But
Okay.
I will try to be at that meeting.
Mr. Chairman, just so I have some direction, is the board accepting these articles now tentatively, or is this?
I think we need to
Hold
wait for
off on
more clarification.
We definitely need, well, as far as I'm
If-
concerned,
if- At this
I don't
point
know.
before both
we
articles?
need more
I
clarification.
mean, the parking lot, I guess, is that's probably one that you're looking for money for this year, so I suppose that one would be okay. I mean, we're not happy with it, but it's, it is what it is.
So that one is all set for acceptance on the
Draw
warrant
up
at this
if
point?
we can draw up the article for that one, and then, but the second one, I think we really need to get a timeline or a plan, as to what the DEP expects and so on and so forth, so, because we'd like to, our desire, or I know my desire would be to push most of that second article off into FY18 budget process.
At least.
The money may still come out of the stabilization fund, but at least we've got time to look at the whole part, and the water board will have time to look at the whole thing and make some rational decisions and put together a timeline. You can't do it all at once anyway.
Right.
And plus, if we do it in the fall, by the time you get going, everything is gonna be the middle of winter. You're gonna be trying to do construction or whatever needs to be done. It's gonna be, difficult and expensive, I would assume.
Well, can I make a suggestion, Mary Beth? Talk to Debbie about, whether there's a kind of a formal statement from the selectmen saying we're not agreeing to this until we've got more specifics, because that may be the leverage she needs to kind of go back to the state to basically say, you've got to be more
I think it's-
realistic. I don't know how these things
No, I
work.
think it
so-
will.
Mr. Chairman, I think if the water board presents a plan to the DEP on a written plan with a timeline that's logical and makes sense based on the Tater and Howard letter, and obviously Tater and Howard had expectations that this wouldn't be funded until the annual town meeting in the FY18 budget. I think something like on the line of that, let the DEP say it's not correct. I mean, I think they're looking for a response on how the town plans to address these things. They're not asking that the town in 30 days reach full compliance. That would be a consent order, which we're
Yeah, but
familiar with.
what, if I hear Bernie correctly, they have received a notice from the state, and they were given 30 days to reply.
To respond with, and the reply would be such.
And we obviously, we haven't seen the reply from the water commissioners.
To the DEP. Did you
No,
file it
that was going out this week, is my understanding.
with a timeline of when, I think
I
that's
would
where the
assume so,
water board
yes.
needs to go to the DEP and say, our plan is to do these projects in fiscal 18, or can we, if that's even too much of a hit in the 18 budget, maybe one of the less priorities in fiscal 19, or some plan, and let the DEP come back and, if there was open-ended, come back and say, that's not reasonable.
Well, I mean, when we met with the guy in the ball field up there, Mary Beth gave us the impression that we requested a 2-year transition to move the field. And she seemed to be in agreement with that. Now, whether DEP is or not, I would think they would be, but I mean, in other words, that's one of the things that she said she was gonna put in that letter was a 2-year delay to give us time to do the ball field. So then I assume those other things could be, does DEP make it back and say, no, we'll give you 1 year, or we'll give you 6 months, or, they kind of hold all the cards. But at the same time, we need a little bit of a pushback, a polite pushback to say, we're working on these things, we understand there's a problem, we want to correct them, but we need a little bit of time in the budget process to come up with
I think we want to give them a
compliance.
schedule that's reasonable
Right.
for the town, and have the DEP review it rather than the DEP tell us a schedule.
Yeah, but I think maybe tomorrow night, Larry, if Mary Beth's coming before you, you can, from our discussion tonight, you can kind of delve into these and we can get a feel for where she's coming from in terms of what the DEP might be willing to accept and not accept. And maybe next week we can take a relook at this letter.
Well,
in terms of, whether we want to put an article on the fall town meeting, or are we able to wait until the FY18 budget?
Well, their reply has to be into the state by Thursday, the 15th.
Right.
So I think that we could send them a memo, a letter, saying that, we need more information based on this request for a warrant article. And so, and we would like to see the reply that's going into the DEP.
Well, I would like
For
to
the
see a
15th.
copy of the letter. I don't recall seeing it. If I did, if we got one, I missed it. I do not recall getting a copy of what the violations actually are.
Right. I don't remember seeing one myself.
We have Tater and Howard saying this is what we're gonna do, but, it'd be good to have the letter and see what the tenor of the letter is.
Mhm.
I think that would give us, it might be a misreading here of what, you've probably seen it.
I've seen it. I think it was completely ambiguous. So.
Well,
So it's ambiguous in the sense of whether they're asking for a plan to move forward, or they're asking for commitments.
They're probably looking for both, a commitment and a plan.
So I think just the, I think Chairman Perry's suggestion of a memo saying you want more information, you want to see the report, I think that at least puts, in my mind, a stake in the ground that then Mary Beth can say, you know, the town wants more time to plan for this. But just in the same way that you responded for the ballpark, you're saying we need 2 years, you can't beat something with nothing. You've got to come back with a position, and so this request is really the most literal interpretation of responding to that report, and I don't know whether that's an accurate or inaccurate. I think your request for greater clarity makes perfect sense to me, and I'll communicate that to.
I think we should request a copy of the compliance plan, Section B, Section C of the sanitary survey report received from the DEP, and the reply from the water commissioners to the DEP for September 15th.
I think that would be, because the thing is, we have to sell, you have to
For our
sell,
next
the
meeting.
board, water board has to sell this to us. You then have to sell it to the finance committee. And then, assuming we all agree, we all have to sell it at a town meeting floor to an audience that's already upset because we're chasing them for their wells.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's gonna be a complicated issue here when we get into this whole, by lumping these, we really need time. Let's deal with the well issue at this town meeting, and if you need the parking lot, fine. If we can push all this off to this annual town meeting, I think politically it'll be better, and you'll have much more time to put together a plan and be able to present a coherent plan to the water rate people, or the townspeople who's gonna vote on it.
So I'd asked Mary Beth if she was coming to this meeting tonight, because I'd seen these items on the agenda, and she, and again, I don't know the details on this, but she said that she hadn't been invited and hadn't been asked to come, so I don't know whether at least if this is going to be on the agenda next week, that we make sure, you can make sure that she is invited to
Well,
add clarity.
I would like a
Through the
motion
window.
to send that request to the water commissioners, that we get the state report, and that we get the water commissioners' reply.
Right.
And that, and do we want to ask?
I don't think we need
I
Mary
don't
Beth
think we
here
have
next
to.
week. In other words, what we need to do is have a week or whatever to digest the information we get.
Right.
Maybe in that time, in other words, we probably would want her here, or the water board, closer to the October 3rd meeting, when we start to, maybe she'll get a reply back or some feedback from DEP on the letter that's going in this week. You know what I mean? Maybe for her to come in next week would be just, you know, it's
Yeah.
kind of a waste of
Wouldn't-
everybody's
wouldn't-
time. We certainly don't want to be wasting time if we can help it. I mean,
Do I
this
have
was a
a
way to
memo?
start the discussion, which was fine.
Do I have a motion for that?
Yeah, I'll give you that motion.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor of sending the memo requesting the information from the water board on the state report and the water commissioner's reply for September 15th, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to new business number 6. Board of Selectmen from Amy Leiden, police flag. Bob Murray has requested that we purchase an American police flag honoring law enforcement officers. Details about the flag are attached. This flag would replace the damaged flag on the town common. Bob?
Okay, the damaged flag was the prisoner of war flag. We actually had a donation about a year ago of a prisoner of war flag, and we put it under the American flag on the town common. And with the windstorms that we had not too long ago, it got all torn and tattered. I'd actually had my wife repair it once while it was out there, and it just got all torn up. So I took it off when I took down the flags because of the possibility of that hurricane coming up the coast. And the American flag on the town common and the American flag in the cemetery were both torn. So she has now repaired those for me.
Are they cotton flags or are
Yes, they are, and unfortunately, they're probably donations that
Okay.
people have given us from probably a casket flag.
Okay.
And we needed one for Memorial Day, so we used it. So, but
Because we usually, you know, on a military base, you would have three different flags. You have a smaller storm flag on those days to put it up. I know it's Bob, I think you're the only person that goes down there all the time and puts the flag up and removes it on the bad days.
yeah,
Um,
I mean,
So
we've looked at them. You know, it gets pretty pricey when we start
does get
doing,
pricey for
doing
the
that type of
flags.
thing. So,
And there's some that are, you know, the nylon flags, and they fly at a certain, with a certain breeze. And then there's others that, the heavy cotton ones that, you know, that you can put up and, you know,
they don't last at all. So
they don't last at all.
no, you can get a synthetic fabric one too.
Right.
But they're pretty pricey.
They're
So.
pricey too.
And we like to keep the flag up there. So my thought was, because we took down the POW flag, and it's a black flag with the POW on it, and we had just done the law enforcement thing on the
Appreciation
Common, Appreciation Day on the Common, and that's what we learned about these flags. So I actually looked it up online, and I found a 3x5 that's embroidered, and it's just with the postage with it, it's about $35. So I mentioned it to Deb. Deb told me to talk to Amy, and I did talk to Amy, and Amy's looked it up, and you can see it on the second page of your flyer here.
Yeah, my concern on this, Bob, is that this is not an official flag.
No, neither is the other one, Dave.
But
The POW flag was
But
not
I
official.
was under the impression, Bob, maybe you know, that the POW flag was authorized by Congress
I believe it was.
to be flown with the American flag, and I'm just concerned that, I mean, I support the police. We were at the rally. I'm a retired police officer myself, but I'm also a Vietnam veteran, and the flag, I'm very much in support of having the American flag, and I strongly would recommend that if the POW MIA flag is tattered and unusable, that we buy and replace that flag with that official flag. And I believe it, I could be wrong, but I believe that's one that Congress,
I
because
believe
that
it
flies
is.
everywhere, that Congress authorized it. And here, this is along the lines of that flag that came out after 9/11, when everybody had the names. It was a nice looking flag, and it was very emotional, but it wasn't an official flag. It was just a nice, you know, it made a point. And I'm just, you know, I just feel that if we're replacing the MIA flag, that I'm sure veterans are going to be quite upset. I know, like I say, some of us are veterans that, you know, we'd like to see that flag maintained along with the American flag. And there is a cost. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And over the many years as a selectman, I don't care which flag, Davey, we bought the ones that were going to storm flags and nylon flags and cotton flags. None of them lasted more than a year. I don't care what one you get. They don't last any more than.
Well, that's what, and on the military bases,
Yeah.
they do. They you know, you have the national ensign, there's a standard size flag, then you have the smaller storm flag that you would put up only during rainy weather and stormy days, and then you had the holiday flag, which was a large, huge flag. We couldn't fly a holiday flag from that flagpole. We'd take the flagpole down the first wind. I would suggest, let's table this and find out a little bit more about the police flag.
Yeah, I'm just
And-
concerned if this is not an official flag.
You're right.
I don't really want it flying on the same pole as the American flag.
Yeah.
And my guess is, I mean, it's a nice idea, and I know Reverend Bob, when he came in to talk about the support the police. He gave us all pins, and it's a nice idea, but I don't think it's official, and I don't wanna, what concerns me somewhat is if we open this door to putting unofficial flags on our flagpole, does it open the door for other things to be flown, or
Why
other
don't we
unofficial flags?
Just table it for a week, I would suggest, and then just let's find out about the police flag, okay?
And check and see about the POWMIA
Yeah,
flag, is that?
POWMIA
I mean, we could probably look it up online if we can just.
Yeah, you
know,
can find that.
Just very quickly find that.
You can Google anything today.
Yep.
Don't always take the
You
answer.
know,
but
it's, you know,
can
it's,
Google
it's a
it.
funny thing, I was coming through Ipswich today, and I went by, and they have a little war memorial there in the corner, and they have they have the American flag, and then they have all the service flags surrounding, and also over in Georgetown, they
Yeah,
have the same
Georgetown,
thing.
they do that.
All the service flags, and maybe something that we should maybe think about for a common too. I don't know, I just throw it out there.
You make a motion to a table?
I'll make that motion to table and find a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's fine, I'll second if you want a second. I mean, it's just, I just wanna make sure we're doing.
Sure.
Right by the veterans and
Yeah.
legalese
Mhm.
and perception of also that, we're not creating we're not gonna put this flag up and in 6 weeks we got people marching on our door because we got an unofficial flag, which is basically supporting a cause. And like I say, I was a retired police officer, so I'm not arguing against the support for the police, but at the
Right.
same time, it's,
You think
these days, everything is a controversy, and if we have to keep it straight, we'll keep it straight. But I do
Okay.
think the POWMIA flag is worth putting back up.
Yes, yes.
And buying, if we have to buy one, I mean, yeah, chip in some money and
Sure.
take donations. You know, the VFW is no longer operating, but I mean, I'm sure we can get some veterans that would be more than happy to donate a few dollars to replace it if need be.
Okay, motion has been made to, and seconded to table new business number 6 to discuss the purchase of the flag for the town common. All those in favor say aye.
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 Present.
Okay, moving on to new business number 7. To the Honorable Board of Selectmen from Karen Summit, Treasurer Collector, Sue Bailey, Town Accountant, date September 7th, 2016, regarding Henderson Charitable Trust and Henderson Worthy Poor account. As we have in the past, upon recommendation from our auditors, we would like to request that $200 be expended from the Henderson Charitable and Henderson Worthy Poor interest accounts as follows. $100 going to the Raleigh Food Pantry and $100 going to the HAWC, which is the Healing Abuse Working for Change. Attached is a letter from HAWC requesting that the town continue to support their programs. Please contact us if you have any questions. Dear Ms. Egan, we would like to thank the town of Raleigh for its past financial support of HAWC, Healing Abuse Working for Change, and we hope that you will consider renewing your support of HAWC's programs and services. We have been serving survivors of domestic violence in Raleigh for more than 35 years. Through programs such as our 24-hour hotline, emergency shelter, community and court advocacy services, and parent-child trauma recovery program, HAWC remains a safe place for Raleigh residents to turn to when they may feel that they have nowhere else to go. We provide our clients with the resources they need while empowering them to make the right choices for themselves and their family. HAWC could not continue this tradition of changing the lives of domestic violence survivors without financial support from the cities and towns we serve. We respectfully ask if we can count on you once again by inviting you to consider renewing your past support of $100. Enclosed, please find a report detailing the quantifiable outcomes resulting from HAWC's work during fiscal year 2016, which concluded on June 30th. This enclosure demonstrates HAWC's concrete impact in our community. By renewing your support today, you are ensuring that we remain a resource to the residents within your municipality. If you have any questions or would like to discuss this in person, please contact me at 978-744-2299, extension 112. Thank you for your consideration. Paula Harrington, Interim Executive Director. We need a motion to use the interest from the Henderson Charitable Trust and Henderson Worthy Poor account to make the donation to the Raleigh Food Pantry and the HWC, each one getting $100.
Make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to make the donation to the Raleigh Food Pantry and HAWC for $100 each. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. We have minutes from August 22nd, from the Board of Selectmen meeting and from the Selectmen Executive meeting, August 22nd. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes. Yes.
I'll be abstaining.
Abstain. I'll give you a motion to accept the minutes for the regular meeting of August 22nd.
What's that?
He can't second, so,
These are the open meeting?
yes.
Okay. I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting for August 22nd, the meeting held at Town Hall at 7 PM. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Abstain.
We have the minutes from the executive meeting.
I will be recusing myself on that one, as I was not present.
Right, yeah, I'll give you a motion to accept the minutes.
We can't,
I can't.
because Mr. Snow can't, because he was absent.
Oh, he was
Mr.
absent,
Murray
yeah.
was left the,
Okay,
so
so
we'll have
we'll have to
to postpone the vote on the executive
Yeah.
minutes. Okay. Announcements. The town website has tips from the Massachusetts Energy Management Agency on how to protect your property from hurricane damage. Go to www.townofraleigh.net. That's one word, townofraleigh.net, for helpful tips for homeowners and boat owners. The Kids Kingdom Playground Community Build, which will be held Saturday, September 17th. So volunteers are needed. For more information, please contact the Selectman's office. The Raleigh Council on Aging is inviting town officials and the public to walk with them during the Walk to End Alzheimer's on September 18th in Andover. Please contact the Council on Aging for more information at 948-7637. The Raleigh Water Department has set a mandatory water ban in place. No outdoor watering is permitted at all, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. The Water Department customer billing cycle will change effective November 1st, 2016. Meters will be read on or about the 1st of every month. Details on the change are posted on the town's website, www.townofraleigh, all one word, .net. The town has the following vacancies: fence viewer, 3 positions; wood, lumber, and bark inspector; zoning board of appeals associate, 2 seats; parks and recreation committee, 1 seat; deputy shellfish constables, 2 positions. For more information on these positions, please contact the Selectman's office at 948-2372. The Raleigh Food Pantry is in need of donations. The food pantry is open Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and Thursdays from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I would remind our residents that the food pantry, and I know that summer ended with the Labor Day, but they are in need of donations, and we would like you to, if you have the time, to take some of the donations over to the food pantry. They would be appreciated.
I make a note too, Mr. Chairman, tonight's Newburyport News, and I just read it very quickly before I left the house. The food pantry is gonna be closing down for renovations for a couple of weeks, I believe toward the end of the month. So maybe if we could, for next week's announcements, take a note of that and make sure we let people know what they were, I think you were supposed to be calling someone, that if you needed food, you could get it, but you had to call to make arrangements ahead of time. And I wanna say the food pantry was gonna open again the week of October 3rd, but I might have the date wrong, but if we could.
We'll check.
We'll check that and just make sure we get an accurate,
Yeah, some of the needs, besides paper products, toilet paper, paper towels, and also baby diapers,
Sanitary.
sanitary
items.
items. So, anyways,
I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
give you that motion, Mr. Chairman.
second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
All right?
Aye. Thank you very much.